Even after you get stuff written about you in the paper?
Yeah. I think I have more followers than he does anyway. So,
So speaking of which, I've been gone for about a week. I didn't see the article on Sunday.
You didn't see it?
No, I didn't see it. I know somebody texted me. It might have been you actually, who told me that there's an article coming, but I was distracted, and I actually haven't seen it yet. So you guys were talking about this.
Do you want Dan to read it?
Is this is from Sunday?
This is Sundays. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scroll it down. Scroll it down to the article part. Scroll it down.
You've got this.
Yeah, Dan, you know how to do this. Okay. So
we don't want to read the first half of the sentence.
No. So here, zoom out a little bit.
yeah, there it is.
All right. Because I can't see anything. A little bit, one more. All right. So if I don't know, do you remember, like, this is, so I heard, I'm like trying to be like cautious about like what I say.
Why?
Because I just don't want to create more problems for myself. But
Yeah.
so
Are you lying about anything?
no.
Right.
Oh, Dan, what'd you break?
Nothing. It just all went black on me.
There it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scroll back up to the
yours.
top, Dan. I want to see this.
Oh, you know
Mike,
what?
you want to read it?
Yeah, I'll read it.
This is the other.
Because I actually haven't read it
Wait,
yet.
he has the wrong. No, that's the first one.
Well, don't we want Sundays first?
That is Sundays.
This is
Sundays.
Oh, is it? Oh.
No, wait. What's the title of it?
Okay, yeah, that's Chris.
A primary
Dan, do you know how to
offense.
do anything?
Sometimes I do.
Okay. Stop scrolling.
Scroll down.
Stop.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to read this?
Meteorologist blames Wednesday's unreasonably chilly weather on a cold front, but I'm pretty sure it was my fault. Don't know what that means. Tuesday was an idyllic day for a primary election, 75 degrees and sunny. I voted early, and I went to work late. Soon, the third floor conference room table will be piled high with pizza on the company's dime. Again, whatever that means. Scroll down. Then the tips started rolling in. A domestic terrorist was parked outside a polling place at Greenridge Assembly of God.
All right, stop.
Okay.
Like there's
First
a
of all-
U-Haul van there and a guy with with a turban and
That is a big deal.
oh,
To make a claim that
Yeah.
there's a domestic terrorist
Right.
outside a church
Right.
is a pretty big deal.
yeah.
Okay.
Who's he referring to?
We'll get there.
You get there. Go ahead, read it.
Okay. I scarfed down a couple of cuts. Stupid. And rolled over to the church to be sure I could identify the domestic terrorist. Okay, hold on. I don't need to know necessarily who the person is. Was this person convicted of a crime
No.
for committing domestic terrorism?
No.
Okay, right there. That's defamation. I Googled photos of her participating in the January 6th domestic terrorist attack on the Capitol.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
All right.
That again is just a stupid
Dan.
thing to say.
Okay, I'm not going to make Dan do this, but I did it. I Googled her. Do you know what the first photo is?
No.
A picture of her from a Scranton Times article.
Oh.
So they Googled themselves.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Want to keep reading?
Somebody help. I'm going to continue reading, but somebody help clarify this for me. Domestic terrorism.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's like a Patriot Act felony crime, right?
I believe
Pretty
so.
big deal.
Dan, can you go back?
I don't know because I don't know anybody that's ever been charged with that.
But like, that's the thing. Like, I mean, and listen, I don't know what the rules are for a journalist, but to say somebody is a domestic terrorist and then to say that they are participated in a domestic terrorist attack on the Capitol.
Wait a minute. Calling her a domestic terrorist, or
Right.
calling him a journalist is like calling her a domestic terrorist.
No, but like, there's got to be rules
He's an
against that,
opinion
right?
writer.
But there's got to be rules against that.
I would
don't
think.
know.
I mean, I can't just call somebody a name
Right.
just for shits and giggles.
Yeah,
Well, according to your First Amendment, you can.
Yeah, I
You can call
guess.
somebody a name, but you can't say that somebody committed domestic terrorism.
I mean, I can't say that, a certain person that writes for the Times molests sheep in his backyard. I can't say that because I don't have any cardinal knowledge of that or know if it's true.
It's speculation and conjecture. It's made up.
It's made up.
It's not real.
Correct.
You're welcome.
Stop with these big words.
I'm sorry.
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
A
Wrench.
shot of her sitting on the hood of a police car is the first image that comes up when you Google her name. When I walked up to the front doors of the church, she was sitting in a camping chair. "You're Deborah Lee," I said. "What?" she replied. "You're Deborah Lee," I said again, "from the January 6th domestic terrorist attack on the Capitol." "Who are you?" she asked, her face tightening much like it looks in the photo of her atop the police car. I replied in the sunniest tone I could manage, "I'm Chris Kelly from the Times-Tribune." She hissed.
Hissed.
I have. Thank you for the sound
Did you ever watch Rick and Morty? No. Did you ever? Dan, do you watch Rick
I
and Morty?
don't watch Rick and Morty.
Okay, they have there's an episode. Maybe if we can maybe it's got to be on YouTube or something like that. But they go visit a world of snakes, and that's how they talk to each other. And there's subtitles. It is hysterical. They all go, and it's like, "I love you, Mort. I love you." It's just okay. Keep going.
She hissed.
Okay.
Thank you. I have nothing to say to you. I've withstood my share of icy glares. This is not very good writing. But this was a gale force bomb cyclone blizzard of contempt. A frigid wind whipped around me. The sky darkened. I could feel the temperature dropping throughout the valley. Oh boy. Okay, come on, Dan. Let's do this. I'm sorry for my part in that, but not sorry at all for questioning the presence of a domestic terrorist at a polling place.
All right, stop.
What?
First of all, there was a polling place. Okay, continue.
In April, Lee, 56, was indicted on charges of felony obstruction of an official proceeding and aiding and abetting obstruction.
Okay, so those are two charges. Felony. Okay, so let's just take away felony. Obstruction and abetting obstruction. Okay. What does obstruction mean and what does abetting obstruction mean? Because those are important things. Furthermore, I don't see a charge of domestic terrorism. Do you see one?
Nope.
Okay, you want to keep going?
Federal prosecutors say Lee tried to block Congress's certification of the Electoral College vote that confirmed Joe Biden as president. The recent indictment includes the 4 misdemeanors in the original criminal complaint against Lee: entering and remaining in a restricted building or grounds,
Trespassing,
disorderly and disruptive conduct at a restrictive building or grounds, disorderly conduct in a Capitol building, and parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building.
Are those... Okay, so go back up, Dan. Okay, so let's go through this.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Somebody who went into the Capitol, which should not have done.
Correct.
I'm reading them again. Entering and remaining. So the charge is there's 4 misdemeanor charges that she went into the Capitol and walked around. Correct?
That seems to be what...
That's the general...
Right.
That seems to be...
Yeah.
it,
Again
yeah.
and again, should not have done.
Correct.
That doesn't make somebody a domestic terrorist.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you make that logic leap, but I'm at where I'm at.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's go down, Dan. Let's read some more.
Wait, you can't have a parade?
Not in the Capitol building.
Okay. Okay.
Old
going.
Forge insurrectionist.
Hold on. Was he charged with insurrection?
No, he wasn't. That's another lie. I didn't see that. I mean, I glanced at the article. Really, I didn't.
I mean,
really read the whole thing.
so is insurrectionist being used in this term as like
yeah, to be
fellow
honest,
handsome man?
I don't think anybody that was there that's been arrested or went to jail was any of them. I don't believe were charged with insurrection. I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but I don't think
there was
so.
a couple of them last week that I think it was seditious something, like the Proud Boys guy.
Those Proud Boy people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What didn't the
whoever those-
Oath Keeper guy get like 18 years? I saw the other day.
Yeah.
It's same thing, right?
was
And what
not-
did they do? What did they get charged with?
I forget. It's one of those ones that it's like, what? No one's ever been charged with this before. That's like one of those charges. Okay, so we stopped at Old Forge insurrectionist.
Old Forge insurrectionist Frank Scavo and Michael Russin,
Russell.
an Oliphant volunteer firefighter who
Oh, wait. A guy who puts his life on the line to help other people and doesn't care what they look like or who they pray to or which way they vote.
For free
Okay.
for the betterment of his community.
Okay, keep going.
the color commentary is fantastic.
Yeah.
Who breached the Capitol building with Lee.
Breach? Did he smash it in with a battering ram, or did he just walk through because the doors were opened by someone? Just keep going. I'm curious.
Pleaded guilty. Shouldn't he be pled? Anyways, to the parading charge.
He was guilty of parading.
Scavo served 60 days in federal prison. Russin was sentenced to 60 days of home confinement.
Okay. So before we move on, when the federal government charges you with something and you know that you're innocent and you want to fight it, do you realize how much money it will cost you to fight that?
Right.
Do you have any idea how much money that'll cost you to fight that?
Unbelievable.
Do you also know that maybe the federal government knows that you know that and know that you don't have the money to fight that?
Absolutely.
So then what do? You plead. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I'm going to plead. It doesn't excuse any behavior for anybody for what they did if it's like a criminal thing, whether or not you're trespassing or, you
Right.
you paraded, whatever that means. but
Gleefully walking.
okay, keep going.
Lee rejected a similar plea
I
bargain.
wonder why someone would reject a plea bargain. Okay, keep going.
The feds responded by tacking on a felony charge punishable by up to 20 years in prison and a maximum fine of $250,000.
Really interesting story there.
Yeah.
The feds just tacked that on about a month ago. So she was charged with all that stuff for almost 2 years.
Refused the plea deal.
And she refused a plea deal. And then all of a sudden, no new evidence came to light. Nothing came to light. They just tacked it on. All right, keep going.
Roll the dice, claim the jackpot.
Oh, that's snooty. All right, keep going.
Lee pleaded not guilty despite a deluge of damning evidence that includes photos of her participating in the insurrection and her own antisocial media posts.
All right, that's funny. That's funny.
That's good.
That's pretty funny. Anti-social media post is pretty funny.
That's good. I'll take that one.
Yeah.
And private messages bragging about her part in America's darkest day since 9/11. And that I will say,
Really?
kudos to him. Because unlike some people in politics in our country, they compared that to 9/11 and Pearl Harbor, which is just an insane thing to say.
All right.
But I'm pretty sure there have been
can I ask you a question?
other dark days.
That's why I'm here.
Do you think comparing that day to 9/11 takes away from the tragedies of 9/11 and
Absolutely,
Pearl Harbor?
it does. Absolutely.
Like
It's
all the
kind of
people
an
that
ignorant-
lost their lives to that?
It's kind of ignorant.
Okay, keep going. Do you want to do the quote?
Yeah. Okay, scroll up, Dan. Oh, it's the last one.
No. There's still
it's
more.
that,
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, this is how the
plenty.
Times does their websites. It cuts it out.
well, they need to
Weird
pay
ways.
for it somewhere or another.
Yeah.
I'm live. I'm at the Capitol doors. We're all the way inside the building. We're trying to get in. That doesn't make any sense. We got the glass broken, Lee said in a video posted on her Facebook page.
Now, realize in that moment, it is chaos. And everybody loves social media, but there's a couple contradictory things there. Scroll back up, Dan. You're not good at this. I'm live. That's true. I'm at the Capitol doors. That could be true. We're all the way inside the building. That could be true. We're trying to get in. That makes one of those things not true.
Are you at the doors or inside the building?
That's what I'm saying. Okay, keep going. Scroll down.
I
Maybe
broke
shouldn't
into
have the
Congress. I broke into Congress, and there were guns on us. She wrote in private.
Broke in. She broke in.
She wrote in private. Why is private in quotes?
Because it could be like Messenger or something.
Yeah, these were messages that they obtained through. It says up there about. Yeah, they got other messages through private.
Okay. To other Facebook users, it's our house, our Capitol. We had every right to occupy.
Okay. So I don't think she broke into Congress. There were guns there, as you can see by like flashbangs and stuff that happened at the beginning of it. It's our house. Haven't presidents been up there and Congress people being like, this is your house? Don't they tell you that? Okay, so that is our Capitol. That's true. We had every right to occupy. I don't know if that's past tense or present. That might be the one I kind of disagree with you. That is your house, but I don't know if.
Oh, no, you don't have a right to you don't.
Did you ever break down an article like this before?
No.
Are you having fun with it or no?
Yeah. I mean, generally, I look at his stuff, and if I have to get this far into it, I'm hoping
Okay, so
not
keep
to have
going.
a stroke, but.
We had every right.
I'll try to stop.
We
doing
had
this.
every right to occupy. No, they didn't, which is why 1,000 Americans and counting were criminally charged for joining the failed coup attempt.
All right, stop. Was it a
Failed coup?
It was a failed coup.
If this was a coup, it was a really, really bad one.
It was a very bad coup.
No weapons.
Yeah.
None, zero.
It was just a crowd that got out of control.
Okay.
According to the Department of Justice, about 485 pleaded guilty to charges likely to earn them jail time. About 120 pleaded guilty to felonies. Another 364 pleaded guilty to misdemeanors. Why does pleaded bug me so much? Isn't it pled? Anyways, some 52 defendants pleaded guilty to felony charges of assaulting law enforcement officers. Another 22.
If you did that, you deserve to get charged for punching a police officer.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right.
Another 22 pleaded guilty to felony obstruction of law enforcement during a civil disorder.
Okay. Can I?
Okay.
That's
Again, full credit. He finally used the right phrase. It's a civil disorder.
Correct.
It's not domestic terrorism. It's not insurrection. Those are actual legal terms that you can't use.
Right.
Of those 74 defendants, 41 were sentenced to prison terms of up to 90 months. 4 pleaded guilty to seditious conspiracy.
That was the charge, seditious conspiracy.
But don't they have to? Don't they with conspiracy? Don't you have to prove that there was a plan?
Yeah, and
I think that's what it was. They had some sort of plan to do something.
Yeah, but if you look at the trial, like what was going on at the trial, you're like, man, this is razor thin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's painfully obvious there was no plan. The Capitol attack was not a peaceful protest.
Okay, stop.
Okay. Why is that in quotes?
Because the right has used the idea of peaceful protests against I'll use in quotes, the summer of love. And the summer of love was after the George Floyd riots when all these, I don't know if anyone remembers.
When the CNN guy was there and was like, it's mostly a peaceful protest while everything behind it was on fire.
So the right says peaceful protest because obviously
it wasn't.
It wasn't. And I think it's being used in this way to point out that the hypocrisy of the other side accidentally was pointed out.
Yeah.
So in those protests, I believe a couple dozen people were murdered. Mm-hmm. There was an entire city that
what was the one out in like Chad, something like that.
Chaz. They had human beings who told the city, you can't come in here. This is our zone, and we're going to run it the way we want.
Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone.
Yes, and that was okay. That was okay to do that for all the neighbors that live in there, all the residents that live in there to live in fear. They bombed a federal courthouse. They set fire to a police department.
Seattle, right?
Seattle,
Oregon?
or Portland, one of those ones. And
Oregon, though.
Chicago.
Maybe that's the way people in Oregon think.
I know.
Think of that.
So those things happened, right? And I'm sorry, but you can't deny the fact that there were political candidates who were saying that we will pay your bail if you do something in those cities.
Political candidates. We have a vice president that did that.
I was trying to not be specific, but yeah, her.
Tell the truth always.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
Okay. Or an exercise in freedom of speech. Now, an exercise in freedom of speech is the right to organize, especially when you have permits.
No, that's the right to assemble.
Whatever. Assemble. Idiot. I'm talking about me, not you. So they had permits for there.
Did they?
There were permits for the Capitol.
Were there permits
grounds.
for the Capitol?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There were permits. The receipts are there. There was supposed to be speakers, I believe, on the northwest side. And let's just keep going.
Okay. It was a criminal attempt to overturn a free, fair election carried out with traitorous contempt for the Constitution.
Man.
That's a bold statement.
It is.
Lee has every right for now to participate in the electoral process, but a domestic terrorist who took part in an attempt to overturn a free and fair election has no business greeting voters at a polling place.
Why?
Is that an opinion?
Again,
I don't. It has to be an opinion.
It has to. So it's just one. So it's
but even if
like
it's an opinion piece, you can't call somebody a domestic terrorist.
No. Well, you can. You can call anybody anything you want, apparently, but should you? No.
No, but the problem
is
defamation of character.
I get it. But the problem is that people will see this and they're going to go, "Oh my God, we had a terrorist there," or "Oh my God, she was there on behalf of these people."
But that's what the court is for. They will convict her or not convict her of whatever they think she is guilty of, and nowhere in any of those charges is domestic terrorism. So for him to label her as that. It's defamation of character.
I would think so.
Also, Lee lives in Oliphant for now. Why was she working the polls in Scranton? I might have asked her, but she meant what she said. She had nothing to say to me. So I reached out to the candidate she represented. Oh, boy. Uh-oh. No. Now I know why we're talking about
what
this.
What a
twist. So I reached out to the candidate she represented at the polls. Her hardest push was for Scranton City Council candidate and MAGA Republican Marc Pane.
Are you MAGA?
What is that? I mean, when I filled out my paperwork to run for this, it said, are you a Republican or Democrat?
Did it say MAGA Republican?
I didn't see that anywhere. I mean,
so what puts you in the MAGA? What's the criteria for that? Like, I know what. What's that? What's that thing kids get in when they're really smart? What's that group?
Mensa.
Yeah, I know what that means.
Are Are you sure?
Well,
But what is MAGA?
MAGA
mean?
seems to be kind of like an umbrella term for anything that
I
people
guess.
don't like.
I mean,
But is it an umbrella term for just people you don't agree with? Because I've heard the president say MAGA Republicans, and I don't know who that means.
I don't know. He had wrote an article earlier, just listing that I was running, and he called me a Trump Republican.
Well, is it MAGA or Trump? Which one are you?
I'm Mark.
That's what I thought too.
Oh, he's Mark.
Yeah.
So you're neither. Well, he's with a C, so he's a different Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, keep going.
So I reached out to the candidate she represented at the polls. Her hardest push was for Scranton City Council candidate and MAGA Republican Marc Pane. I reached Pane on Thursday. Our conversation was brief but cordial. I had people all over the city, Pane said, but he was not aware Lee was one of them.
That's not true.
Okay.
Did you tell him that?
No, I did not. I told him that I didn't know that she was there, and I had 20 people working all over the city. I had no idea who was where, and I didn't.
So him claiming that you were not aware she was one of them is something that is not. You did not say that.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
Neither were Bob Casey and Tom Borthwick, who both landed seats on the Scranton School Board. Lee also distributed their candidate cards, which voted for Casey, Borthwick, and Mark Dennebaum, who won a Republican nomination for to run for school board. When I asked Casey and Borthwick in separate conversations if they were aware that Deborah Lee was representing him at the polls, both replied, "Who's Deborah Lee?" The domestic terrorist from Oliphant who was indicted for her role in the January 6th attacks on the Capitol.
Okay, let me pose you this question. Let me tell you this right now. Dan, stop moving. No, go back up. So when I asked Casey and Borthwick in separate conversations if they were aware that Deborah Lee was representing them at the polls, both replied, "Who's Deborah Lee?" Did both of them say, and I quote, the domestic terrorist from Oliphant who was indicted for her role?
No, I think that might have been his
response.
response.
So that was his response.
I'm assuming that is Chris's response.
So he's claiming she's a domestic terrorist from
Yeah.
Oliphant who was indicted for her role in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Okay.
Okay.
That's him saying that.
So that's just some poor writing. That should have I replied.
Yeah.
Okay. I informed them.
Yeah.
Maybe we should put informed in quotes.
Again, you can't call somebody a domestic terrorist.
I have an issue with it too.
Both were duly horrified by the news. Both said they didn't know.
Both wept in their yards for hours.
Both said they didn't know Lee was distributing their cards. I believe them. Anyone can request candidate cards. Campaigns are happier to get help than they are curious about who's helping. Okay.
Sure.
Kind of true.
Sure.
Do we have to do background checks from now on? Casey asked, mostly joking. That's a great joke. Google should suffice.
Well, how do you know it was mostly? What if it was all joking?
Google should suffice. Okay. Before agreeing to have their names appear alongside Dennebaum's, Casey and Borthwick should have typed his name in the search bar. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
They might have learned that Dennebaum is an anti-vaxxer, COVID skeptic, and January 6th apologist.
What the fuck is that? What is a January 6th apologist?
Which one do you want me to hit first?
Well, hit what you want, but I'm like, I know what I know what the first two are, but what is a January 6th apologist?
I don't know. Because someone who's like, hey, did they do it?
Didn't you just say like 5
not?
minutes ago that
maybe
they should not have done what they did?
I thought I said that.
Yeah.
We figured it out. We're really sorry that something terrible happened on that.
I'm sorry for what happened that day. I'm sorry about what happened. I'm sorry there were 100 to 200 undercover FBI agents in that crowd. I'm sorry that.
What is a COVID skeptic?
I guess I'm skeptical of like the long-term effects that would have been had on children. I was skeptical of locking people down and keeping them from sunshine and friendships,
Life.
and conversation and purpose.
Basically, you feel like the people that made decisions during the COVID times might have overreacted.
I
Might have.
Yeah, I think might have is putting it a little bit.
I might be a little bald.
True. I mean, and so to be you were skeptical of the decisions that were being made during COVID times.
I was, and we've talked
now
about
in
it.
retrospect,
and we've talked about it on here.
Oh yeah,
and anybody can go back and watch our earlier episodes. I don't think I was wrong about anything.
And now in retrospect, You were probably right to be a little skeptical about some decisions.
I think a lot of people were. So the anti-vax thing, I think that's just a general, let's just throw it out there just to make people look worse than they are without having a nuanced conversation. I'll put it this way. Anybody who got a vaccine, it is your choice. I would have happily recommended against it because now studies have come out that said 80% of the deaths would have never happened if they just gave people vitamin D. And you know what gives you vitamin D?
The sun.
Oh my God. Isn't that weird? There's a chemical reaction in your body from infrared light, from a gaseous ball, from millions.
But not if you're told to stay in place and just hide.
Correct.
What was the term they used?
Shelter in place.
Shelter in place. That was it. Shelter.
The hurricane's coming. It's beautiful out.
Yeah.
All right.
So
now, we did have one other thing out of that piece of the article, though.
what was that?
What's that?
They should Google you.
Oh, yeah. Google
yeah.
me. Do you want to Google me?
So
wait, hold on. Google should suffice. You can just click the thing right in front of it, Dan.
Google should suffice. Here we go. Let's Google him.
This is a Google of me.
Okay. Mark Dennebaum Jr., owner, president, 258 Studios.
Yep. Then my IMDb.
Then your IMDb. What were you in?
A bunch of stuff.
Oh,
then,
you also, yeah, I got you.
Then
You did a bunch of movies. And
then the interview with the League of
School
Women Voters.
Board.
Then my interview with drag queen Pissy Miles.
Oh,
There's a video with me someplace that if you Google my name, it comes up Marc Pane getting interviewed by some Pissy Miles. And I'm like,
Yeah. We had a great conversation. It was right before
but I'm
election.
not in it. I'm not even in the video.
Maybe I tagged
I'm
it
like,
that way.
You
then
jerk.
your Facebook.
Then my Facebook.
And what's Official USA?
I have no idea. Bird Street. That's when Jesus. That's when I lived in Southside.
Anyways. and then
Honeybook, Happenings Magazine.
Standard
my dad's
Ironworks, your dad's company. What's Buzzfile? Steel
about-
Products
it's about-
Erection.
it's about business.
City Democratic candidate committee endorses candidates.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You were endorsed.
I was endorsed.
Okay. Yahoo.
So where in
It's
there is
more-
any anti-vax?
Hold on, Dan. Going too fast. Film feed. It's film, Internet Archive, School Board interview, NEPA Scene podcast, phone number, your home, visual something, legacy.com, an obituary.
Obituary of my grandfather.
Another thing that looks like about you being endorsed, and some school board stuff.
So where, man, this is
Go
really,
to images.
Oh, please don't.
oh, they're really good.
Are they?
Please don't.
Oh, that's not bad. Click on the first one. No. Click on the second to the last one in the top row.
Oh yeah, that's a really good.
That's a
That's
great.
a terrible photo.
Make it big.
I look insane.
Make it big.
You can't, which is great. Thank you.
Zoom in,
Happenings
Dan.
Magazine's the best.
All right.
Dan doesn't know how.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, let's get back to this article.
You know, when I get home, I'm going to find that picture.
That's amazing.
I know.
Dennebaum hosted the Ambush podcast of my 2021 sit down with Teddy Daniels at Payne's Garage in Scranton.
Ambush.
But I have no hard feelings.
Okay,
I had a good time.
Let's do this real quick.
Ambush.
Can you tell the story of when I called you about that? Because we saw these two guys going at each other. So I called you and I said, dude, I'm really concerned about the political discourse in this area between these two guys.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Vaguely.
And I said, hey, we started this podcast. And you're like, what's that?
Yeah.
And I said, here's the deal.
Well,
I said, if you want to tell it,
Yeah,
I'll tell it.
no. I mean, I remember when you said you'd want to do it, and I said, well, let me talk to them.
Right. So I went down there, and what did I say to you? If either one of them disagrees to this, we
You're
don't
out.
do it.
Yep,
We
absolutely.
don't do it. No harm, no foul. I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Did Chris say no?
He did not.
Did he say, let's see how this goes?
I think he did.
Okay. So was it an ambush?
No.
Okay.
No. No, he refused to come. I mean, he put it in the paper that he was nervous on coming because, he was afraid of apparently the MAGA people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing I could assume.
Who disagreed with him,
Most of them, yeah.
but were not,
No, but he wanted a police officer there.
which
he
you
wanted,
had, right?
Out of my own pocket, I hired a Scranton PD to be there to make sure that there was no trouble. No.
Well, and listen, at the end of the day, what that did was it took a weird conversation in a parking lot and actually put some class to it.
Yeah.
And he could say it was an ambush. That's fine, whatever. But what it did was it made it more entertaining. It made it more real. It made it
civil.
It made it civil. And they actually had a really great conversation.
Right.
They said that they agreed to disagree at the end, but like, it was great. You know, like it was actually really entertaining. I think it was really enlightening for a lot of people. And to be completely honest with you, and I hope Chris is listening, come on here, let's do it again.
Happily.
It was good. Like,
you know what a lot of people said to me afterwards? I think this is the thing that maybe made him mad. A lot of people were like, hey, that Teddy Daniels ain't that bad of a guy.
He's not.
Because they thought he was a psycho lunatic.
Yeah.
Like, he's a very opinionated, verbose.
Very, very opinionated. But
Yes.
when you get to know him, he's a teddy bear. He really is. He's a good man.
So
who wants the best for this country.
Yeah.
You know,
And his
tactics may be a little extreme for some. I get it. But Teddy's a good guy.
So I that was the first time I met him.
Yeah.
I did not know him.
Yeah.
I never met him. I shook his hand. What are you laughing about?
I was getting ready to
ready just to dive like right back in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were yawning. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you were doing. I thought I was boring the shit out of you. And
no, I was taking my big breath so I could get back to my theatrical reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
I left Dennebaum a voicemail on his cell phone on Thursday. My educated guess is that he invited Lee to represent the three candidates. Is that true?
I'll have Marc Pane answer that.
But I wanted to ask him. Dennebaum didn't call me back. Not even to say he had nothing to... No, wait. I messed that up. Not even to say he had nothing to say to me. Well, that's a tongue twister.
Did I have anything to do with anybody there?
No, neither of us did.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, people stop in the GOP headquarters down there on a regular basis, especially up to the elections.
Why didn't you call him back?
Well, first of all, I don't have his number. So like usually when people call me and I don't know who they are, I don't answer it unless they leave a voicemail.
Did he leave a voicemail?
He did.
Did he leave his number?
He did, yeah, I believe he did.
Why didn't you call him back?
Because I don't want to talk to anybody that writes stuff like this unless it's in public and recorded.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I don't want to. I will have a 17-hour conversation with this guy about my opinions, how I got there. Totally cordial, polite, whatever, but I'm not going to give sound bites to anybody.
No, because he's not going to print what you say anyway.
No.
He's only going to print, he's going to twist whatever you say.
And I realize, like, here's the thing, like, I realize he's got a job to do. And I realize
his job is to sell papers.
Correct. And I realize that. And he's picked the people who he thinks are evil, and I think he's wrong.
Yeah.
I think that people are nuanced. I think people are not inherently evil, and I don't think they're inherently good. I think that you got to know somebody, and I can't name one person who I agree with on 100% of things. That would be a terrible life to live.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no growth.
You're married. You know that doesn't exist.
No, look, man. Like I think Chris is afraid. I think there's a lot of fears out there.
I
that
think
he
there's
has
issues
bought
with
into.
him. Yeah, and I genuinely, I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, I don't think he's an evil person.
No. I think something horribly went wrong in his life at some point in time, and
He had some pretty scary MAGAs in his childhood.
MAGAs? Yeah. My neighborhood was surrounded by MAGAs.
Is that your educated guess on him?
That's my educated guess, is that his neighborhood was surrounded by MAGAs.
chasing him with
What's
I don't-
funny is like I actually know him from like well before all of this. I used to work with him
where?
at the Times.
Mike used to work at the Times.
Yeah.
What did
I
you
like
do
him.
there?
He wrote
I did all
lies.
sorts of stuff. I was I just handled different projects I probably was there for about 5 years, just different projects.
Okay.
Yeah. So I worked on the Electric City, the creative side, just kind of bopped all over the company for about 5 years.
I don't think anybody. Look, I don't think all those people have to make a living over there.
Yeah.
All those people, and look, I wish they would be honest. I wish they would tell the truth. I wish they would not seem like they have like the big misconception about me is that I'm a hardcore Republican. The thing that happened to me during this last 3 years was I'm like, hey man, both sides aren't good.
Yeah,
You know,
no, they're
and
not.
I need to think for myself because I can't trust them to do the things that I think are in my best interest.
Right.
And you know how politics is around here, man. You pick your side, and that's the side you stick with, and
And that's a huge mistake.
It's a big mistake.
In this, especially at our level, your D or R should not make a bit of a difference who you are. It's who you are that should make the difference, and
Sure.
why they vote for you. I've never in my life voted straight Republican or straight Democrat. Ever. I've always voted the person. always. And hopefully it'll continue to do that to the day I die. It's just, people take this DNR thing to heart, and it's not in their best interest or everybody's.
Well, because there's good people on both sides and there's bad people on both sides.
Absolutely.
You got to vote the person.
Yeah.
You can't just.
But there's interests on both sides that like, and on individually that, and when I mean interests, it's like, you can say whatever you want about me, but if you think that like, people talk about this thing called the uniparty. And what the uniparty is just the interests in the Republican Party and the interests in the Democratic Party who are in power, whose interests align.
Right.
And they are going to move. How many times have you heard stories about here where somebody's like, man, I can never get elected as a Republican, so I just switched to Democrat. Woohoo. It's like you didn't change anything. You just changed your softball team logo.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's all you're doing. But we're using these softball team logos as to be like, this is our Captain Jack flag.
It's been like that forever, though.
I know.
Mayor Connors. Whoever was running, I think it was Natariani won the primary at that time, or whoever he was running against.
Oh, no, I don't remember.
Somebody did, but they were on the Democrat. He lost, so he ran as a Republican. He was a Republican mayor for years and switched to Democrat.
But this
Switched back to Democrat.
So what we do here, right, is what I think that doesn't happen at the paper is that we have conversations with people. And they go where they go, and they go as long as they need to go. And there's some that are short and some that are long, but it's just interesting to talk to people to figure out their perspectives.
Right.
I don't think that the paper does that. I don't think that the paper finds the nuance, especially in a piece like this. Like, this isn't like car drove down street, speeding, hits house.
No.
This is a piece that's just like, they're literally seeing how much meat they can get off this poor woman's bones to sell papers.
Yeah.
Meteorologists are free to scoff at the notion that Deverly's glacial glare could affect the weather, but there were other elements at work. Consider the Arctic irony of a domestic terrorist. Still don't think you could say that. Who joined an attempt to nullify the votes of millions of Americans, parking herself outside of a polling place and encouraging voters to cast ballots. Brr.
Isn't parking yourself outside a polling place and encouraging voters to cast ballots? She's not telling them who to vote for.
Yeah, she was telling them.
Well, you know what I mean? She's not like, if you don't go in there and vote for these persons, she was like, would you consider?
Yeah.
She's not fucking forcing people. That's every American should be involved in the process. A lot of us, the reason why the elections are so skewed is because a lot of people don't show up and vote. Primaries was terrible. Voter turnout was terrible.
It was absolutely terrible.
So, and it's terrible because this discourse isn't helping shit.
Right.
You know how I said before that, like, the main export of Northeast PA is gossip? The mouth of that river is the Scranton Times.
Oh my God, yeah. And people swear by it. They read something in there and they think, oh, this is the truth. And it's not.
People, like I said before, we're a one-party town. And I don't care if that party is R or D.
I'm scared.
It's a terrible thing to be a one-party town.
I'd be terrified.
Yeah, it shouldn't be either.
Terrible in another way.
Yeah.
But it's also terrible when you have a one-paper town.
It's terrible.
I mean, it's just, this is the story and that's that. And man, and at the end of the day, Chris is an opinion writer. I mean, that is literally what he does. He's just giving his opinion.
Well, it's a shield.
So it's different. It's different than, Boris or anybody else who's writing a news article. It is his opinion. But when giving your opinion, you can't put labels on somebody that aren't true. Now, he might think she's a domestic terrorist, but that is a legal definition. Like it's very disconcerting.
Overall, sorry. It's very unhealthy.
I know what disconcerting means.
to be able to just say shit like that and
hit him.
It's I saw that. It's very disconcerting to have people just be able to cast aspersions like that and just call people things that they feel like calling them. And then, it bothers me that like the higher ups are not like, we can't talk like this. It bothers me that like the editors over there are like, this is just, I mean, in essence, he's writing a Page 6 article.
Right. I mean, when the owner of
National Enquirer,
when the owner of the paper picks that up on Sunday and read that article, how they weren't horrified that he used those words that way is beyond me.